Dear world, I really thought I had it all figured out. But now, all I can say is, what the actual... Being in your 20s has been talked about by so many people at this point. And we get it, you know? It's happy, freeing, confusing, and lonely at the same time. And after so many years, you would think that, maybe people have figured out how to make it less confusing, maybe? But alas, the world keeps changing. So on top of the already confusing nature of being in your 20s, you also have to, 1, navigate life after a worldwide pandemic. By the way, I haven't painted in a while, so please be nice. I don't know where my skills are at, and I honestly don't know what to do with this. So let's just pretend this is some metaphorical way of expressing what it's like to be in this 20s crisis. Okay? So I graduated during the pandemic, but even before graduation, classes were just not the same. We all had to adjust to a system that we were all new to, even the professors. And because of that, I still feel a little bit of imposter syndrome whenever an opportunity comes my way, because I don't know if I'm equipped for it or ready for it. I had a professor once told me that they wished they could have taught us with equipment around, which was available in face-to-face classes, which is in school. It was something she had no choice with. And it was just not one class. It was a lot of classes that needed hands-on experience. We also had a swimming class in the pandemic. I don't even remember what we did for that. I think we all just had lectures of different strokes. I don't know. I don't remember. But seriously, how are you going to teach a swimming class, a swimming subject, in the middle of a pandemic? I think another thing that's been affected by the pandemic is missing out on a lot of 20s pivotal moments. I turned 20 during the pandemic, and during that time, I was living with my college friends. This was not the house that I lived in yet. I shared a room with my family, and so I wanted to live with my friends so I could learn how to be independent and I could have a little bit of freedom. So living away from my family and living with my friends was something very new to me. I learned a lot from it. I went grocery shopping with my friends and we would help out each other with school stuff. But then COVID happened, and now even after COVID, I don't think we see each other that much anymore because we're all busy with work now. Relating that to friends, I'd also like to talk about the loneliness brought about by the economy. 2 words that don't seem to correlate, but they do now. Building relationships, romantic or platonic, are much harder these days. So there's this thing called third spaces, and basically it's when your first space is your home, your second space is work, and so the third space is anywhere that's not home or work. Maybe it's your gym or the local cafe that you go to all the time. Ideally, this is where you can meet new people. I found this comment on the internet the other day, and it said, the economy does not make it easy for us to build an in-person community today. And I totally agree. And I think that's because third spaces have become less and less affordable, even in cities as well. I'm not saying there aren't any, but there are less and less free spaces for people to go to. So people have less access to third spaces unless you're willing to pay. So what do? You get a job. But then people still can't go to these third spaces because even though you have a job, you have the money, now you don't have the time because you're too busy working. The last few weeks, my third space has been the dance studio. The other day, I invited my friend spontaneously to dance with me, and she said, "This is the first time I'm gonna be with people outside of work." And I get that this is not applicable to everyone now. There have been improvements, and if you're one of those people, you are blessed. But for me and for my peers, and I think most of us, we still struggle balancing work and life. It seems like being busy is the one that's rewarded more than creating this balance. When someone tells you they're busy, it somehow means this person is very important, or this person is needed by everyone and they're very hardworking. And because of that, if we do try to implement this balance and set boundaries for ourselves, we are called entitled or lazy, when all you really want is an identity outside of work. All we want is life outside of work. The thing is, times have changed, and we're really starting to see the one-sidedness of capitalism. I mean, we have for the longest time, but how the corporate, the work, my brain is not braining capitalism. Just pure capitalism and how it's implemented in how we work and our jobs. You get what I mean. But I'm actually pretty grateful that people are calling this out, especially in my generation. I really believe in working to live and not the other way around. By the way, look, I've painted before the pandemic in class when I was studying color theory. I haven't painted in a while. So this is one of the first few I've done in a while. If you look at it closely, it sort of looks like it's moving and it's very windy. Like the whole picture is being moved out. Like it's being winded off. Is winded even a word? It's very windy. It's a very windy scenery. It represents the fast-paced changes of being in your 20s. The blue sky is supposed to represent hope, and so are the clouds, but the clouds sort of represent, you know, the clouds represent the shakiness of said hope. The flowers represent the person in their 20s, blooming but confused because there's a lot of movement and they don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. The mountains represent I think it's open for interpretation. That is my original work, inspired by the landscape painting ideas I see on Pinterest. And of course, the crisis of being in your 20s. I will call it quarter life crisis. Very original. So yeah, there's probably more than what I've said. Those are just the things that are on top of my head. Unfortunately, this video has no conclusion. I wish there was, but I guess I just have to live through it instead of getting over it. Bye!